Hello, welcome to Romantic Wednesdays with Poetry. I'm Alisa Agnes, your host, and I believe it's time to get real and spill some tea or coffee. So today I have the new cycle for you. It's called A Starry Night. It's the 11th cycle from the second volume, Student's Note, Open Eyes. And let me remind you that it's a part of my debut poetry book, which is called Once Upon a Time There Were Two Poetry Books. So, A Starry Night is made of 4 shorter poems, and they kind of feel like one story, and they have written in such a different way than I usually do, and I think that's why the cycle has a very special place in my heart. And also, I've told you in the previous episode that you can think of the painting which has the same title, but it wasn't my inspiration. I just thought of A Starry Night, and it was a metaphor of love to me. So maybe I will read you part by part. There are 4 parts, so I will read you at first. The first part, I will tell you a few words about this, and later the second part, and etc. So that's A Starry Night, the first part. Every night he gave me stars, heavy my pocket, like Mars, sparkling dreams, starry silent meanings, winter dreams, golden feelings. So, it's about the happiest time of your life, I guess, when this love that someone gives you makes you feel like your pockets has become really, really heavy because of this love. It's just a metaphor. So imagine that someone is literally giving you stars, and you put them, and planets as well, to your pockets. And this is how rich this love makes you feel. And also, I wanted to rhyme here, and that's why I wrote something like every night he gave me stars, heavy my pocket like Mars. Mars can also mean those rocks that you can put in your in your pocket, and then you feel like it's a really heavy pocket. But I also think of such a chocolate bar which has the same name and it's also kind of heavy when it comes to calories, and it's another such a thing that makes me think when I hear this line. And later, sparkling dreams, starry silent meanings. So it's about such a very special love, which is meant for just 2 people, and nobody really knows about this romance. So it's a silent kind of message into relationship. And sparkling dreams, it's just reference to the night sky, which is full of stars. And later we have winter dreams, golden feelings. Winter dreams is about the time when I wrote this poem. It was winter 2021. It was probably January, and it's just about this special kind of thing that happens in winter. It's cold, it can be snowy outside, but sometimes you can feel this kind of special warmth and brightness that comes from the snow at the same time, and that's what it means. Golden feelings, it's also a metaphor to the snow and winter and stuff, but I also think of the song Daylight by Taylor Swift. And if you don't know this song, then maybe check it out, and then you will understand my concept and this kind of feeling that is hidden in these 4 lines. Yep. So now I will read you the second part of this poem. 2. Starry, starry night, come home to me. Starry, starry night, said, I will fight for us. Moonlight melted, raindrops of the sky fell to the bed. Did he melt with the moon too? Did he fall from the sky too? So this part of the poem is like the conversation between the starry night and you, and imagine that this starry night is your lover. And this concept comes from the Polish poetry. We have such a writer who lived about 100 years ago. His name was Bolesław Leśmian, and he wrote such a book and such a long poem about the meadow, who was a woman who, was kind of the real person who came to the house, and she was some kind of lover of that man that was describing those scenes in that beautiful poetry. And it was my inspiration. I was still studying in 2021, despite it was the pandemic era. I was studying at home then, so I obviously was reading such a poetry, and I think this is what inspired me to write this part. So as I've already said, it's about the starry night, which we ask to come home to us, and the starry night, as such a real man, says that he will fight for this love. And later we see moonlight, which is melting. We can see those drops of the night sky fall into the bed. And when you're in your bed, you wonder if your lover fell from the sky with those drops as well, if he melted like that, just like the sky. So this is what this part of the poem is about. And now the third part. So 3. My whole room is covered in stardust and moonlight. And that's all. So after the moment of melting, we can wake up in the morning and realize that your whole room is covered in stardust and moonlight, of those drops and glitter, and that's kind of what I imagine in these short lines. Well, my inspiration for this was my chandelier, which is a crystal kind of chandelier, and when sun shines and it goes through this glass and this crystal, then such a beautiful thing happens in my room, and it looks just magical. And it happened a few times, And I think it was my inspiration to describe this kind of event in such a short part of this poem. So now the fourth part. It's a little bit longer part and it's the last part. So, 4. Do you maybe want to meet me at midnight in the moonlight and dance with me all night long in the fields, lover? So this part is a really long question. You ask your lover if you can meet at midnight, so at night again, in the moonlight, and imagine that you would be dancing together in the fields. So here we don't have winter anymore, but I think it's spring already. And you ask your lover if in the spring if you can meet like that and just dance together, and the scenario is so romantic, and it's simply a question, so so it's a very open kind of ending. We don't know if they really met again like that, but maybe yes, who knows. So yep, that's A Starry Night. That's all when it comes to the meaning. You know what kind of inspired me. So now let's talk for a minute about the way it was written. So it's a very different kind of poetry than I usually write, but I felt like I needed to do something very special here. So we don't have punctuation, not really. The only mark that appears here is the question mark, and the question mark appears here in this whole poem made of 4 parts just 3 times, so we have just 3 question marks. So no punctuation, just 3 question marks, no capital letters, just it's just simple like that, and you have to kind of try to find where those sentences end, so it's a very experimental kind of thing. So it was also inspired by that very modern poetry that I was reading during my studies, master studies, so 4th and 5th years, and I wrote it in 2021, so it was still the 4th year, and I remember I had more literary classes than in the 5th year, so I was obviously reading a lot of modern poetry, and I believe it also influenced the way I looked at poetry. And I don't know, maybe one of the best poems that I have ever written. I believe it's so poetic. It's like the purest poetry that I could ever write, and it's obviously a very romantic concept. It's full of universe and this kind of stuff, like planets, stars, night sky, and this kind of light that comes from the night sky. So I believe it's a very romantic scenario, and well, I love it even today, 4 years later since I wrote this poem. So as I've already also told you, these 4 poems kind of make the one poem, one cycle, which is called A Starry Night, because this thing, A Starry Night, kinda appears in each part. Obviously, each part is also completely different, but I think of this as one long poem, as one concept, and to me it's simply perfect, and I really love what I did 4 years ago. So yep, sometimes inspiration goes in such a very magical way and makes you feel amazing and make you write such beautiful things. So I'm really glad that I could put such a happy moment in my book as well. Because let me remind you that the previous 2 cycles were about betrayal. So after that really dark time, something so beautiful happened that made me write such a beautiful poetry. It also makes me think that maybe sometimes we need such dark moments to make love deeper and just more perfect, and maybe this way we also become more ready for what is about to come, and then we can cherish happy moments even more and we can write such beautiful things about a nighttime. Yep, because when can we write a better poetry than during a starry night, right? There's no better time than a night time. Yep, I can really see it that I wrote a lot of not only poetry but also songs during the nighttime. So sometimes we can't sleep, so we just write. Yep. So that's all that I can tell you about the cycle. And right now I'd like to tell you what you can expect in the nearest future. But it may not be the next episode because you already probably can see that the month is ending and we still have to talk about music once again. So what I will tell you right now about poetry is what to expect in the next month. So the next cycle, the 12th, is called 7 Days Poetry Challenge. So these poems, which are 9 parts. So it's like one cycle, one long poem made of 9 parts. So it looks very similar, but not quite to the Starry Night. But it's more random because I decided to challenge myself to write poetry every day for 7 days. And sometimes I had more ideas, and that's why it's made of 9 parts. But you will learn more in 2 weeks about this. And also, if you've been following me on Instagram for a longer time, then maybe you already know these poems because I was posting them on my Instagram those few years ago. So right now you know what to expect, and when it comes to the song, I won't tell you the title right now. You will learn next week. Yep. But obviously it's another track from Silver Trails Part 2. So yep, that's what to expect. Now you know everything. Thank you so much for listening, and well, until the next time. Yep. Bye.